Hello and welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Re-Watch-Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and it is episode number 052 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from January 23rd, 1993, taped December 12th, 1992, at the East High School in Morristown, Tennessee. My name is Arya, and welcome to the show. Now, we've officially reached a year, one full year. This is the 52nd episode. There are 52 weeks in a year, which, yes, means that we've made it through one full year. Holy shit. So in case it's the first time you've ever checked out the Smoky Mountain Re-Watch-Along Project, what we do here, it is really quite simple. We watch every single episode of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, beginning with episode number 1 on February 1st, 1992. We go all the way to episode number 200 on November 26th, 1995. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the so-so, the okay, the incredible, the tremendous, the astounding, the amazing, the awful, the astounding. I've already said that word. We talk about some promos, we watch some angles, we talk about some matches, and I'm fucking up my intro today because this is like the 8th show I've done in the last 6 days. But hey, it is what it is. But what we end up doing is we talk about some old school wrestling, and we have some fun for approximately an hour or however long this episode takes. What we also do at the end is we talk about what else is happening this week in wrestling, because I can tell you January 23rd, 1993 until my face is as blue as my hair, but you may not know what the hell that means. What else is going on in wrestling? And then I tell you and you're like, oh, okay. I remembered that. That happened at the same time. I know, right? Now, if you're listening to this, first of all, thank you. Secondly, I don't think I need to say this, but I've dropped a lot of audio in the past week. I, of course, did the Something Else show. I did the Smoky Mountain Re-Watch-Along show last week. Then Thursday night, I do a bi-weekly news show for an hour, Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Time at angrymarks.com. And that was supposed to be the end of it. And then I decided to drop a Memphis wrestling review from 1978 that I recorded like 4, 5, 6 months ago at this point. And then, since I was already watching both the TNA Rebellion shows and the AEW Dynasty show, I did podcasts for both of those. And so if you subscribe to the Something Else Podcasting Network, you're not only just going to get this show, and that show over there, you're going to get all of it, except the Angry Marks one, because that's not me. But you can go to angrymarks.com for that. But anyway, you can hear all of this absolutely 100% free, no ads, no begging for money at this point. It is what it is. Listen to it, enjoy it, step back into the Wayback Machine here with some old school wrestling. And yes, I go against my promise and actually talk about some current wrestling. But the only way to guarantee that you get every single fucking show I do is by subscribing. And we are on all your favorite streaming platforms. And we're also on YouTube, tinyurl.com/something else YouTube. But ultimately, if you search for the Something Else Podcast Network, you'll find me, E. And you'll not only get these shows, you'll get anything else that I decide to record, because I watch a lot of wrestling. And spoiler alert, I know, right? But, if people actually enjoy it, I'll talk about it more. But before we talk about more, let's talk about this. This Smoky Mountain Wrestling, as we mentioned, January 23rd, taped December 12th, 1992, at the East High School in Morristown, Tennessee. This is the final this is the final episode taped here. So we'll officially be out of shows that happened in 1992 next week when we dive into 1993. But let's go to the intro of the show with Bob Caudle and Dr. Dutch Mantell.
Hi, wrestling fans. Welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. I'm Bob Caudle, and we got another great hour in store for all you wrestling fans this week. We're going to have another television championship match right here, Dutch. Again, the winner, Tracy Smothers, defends that championship this week, and he can take home another $1,000, or we can have a new champion in that $1,000 also. And we're going to see Nature Boy Paul Lee against Dixie Dynamite. That should be another exciting match. Dutch, what have you got for us on Down and Dirty?
Well, the focus of Down and Dirty today, I'm going to be talking right here to White Lightning Tim Horner, and I'm going to ask him to explain his actions last week on my segment when he attacked, from the back I might add, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Fans, that's just a little bit of what we're going to be having for you during this hour, so stay right here. It's going to be a good one. We're about ready now to have action, so let's go to the ring.
All right, so the big match this week, we don't even have an opponent yet, but it's going to be Tracy Smothers defending the Beat the Champ TV title. That's going to be coming up. In addition to that, we're also going to have Paul Lee, who is just dropping all pretenses that, he's, being the Nature Boy ripoff here, and just going by Nature Boy Paul Lee. So, good for him, right? And also, White Lightning is going to be on Down and Dirty with Dutch to discuss why he attacked Paul Orndorff from behind. And oh my God, we have talked about famous Tim Horner moments on this show. This, I think, is the last televised famous moment of Tim Horner, because we already had him singing. We had that back, in March or April. We had where he brought out the sick child and had Bullet Bob take the Smoky Mountain title from a sickly child. We have the promo today, and if you've never heard it, if you've never heard of it, this is epic Tim Horner. We'll just say that. But before we get to epic Tim Horner, let's go to regular everybody else. And we start with a match here with Dixie Dynamite versus Nature Boy Paul Lee. Dixie hugs some old ladies at ringside on the way to the ring, one of which is the same old lady who hugged Tracy Smothers last week. That hoe. During the match, Dutch kept telling Bob to call him Dr. Dutch, which we mentioned earlier, bringing up the honorary doctorate that he was awarded. And we also found out that this week's Beat the Champ TV title challenger will be none other than Reno Riggens. Reno Riggens, of course, in the storyline that Mr. Ron Wright wants to take him under his wing and basically teach him the ways. And Reno is debating whether or not to join up with Mr. Wright. We'll get more into that later. So Paul Lee gets more offense than expected, but, Dixie was usually the pushed guy who would give jobbers the most offense. Lee took a flare flop after a turnbuckle smash, and Dixie won with the Confederate kick. From here, Caudle and Dutch pitch it to a recap of a match from Barberville, Kentucky, where primetime Brian Lee and Kevin Sullivan had a street fight. Brian Lee was about to win when a follower ran in, and Lee threw him into the referee, Mark Curtis. Sullivan grabbed a spike and began spiking Lee's head repeatedly. So before we got the, mass casualty from November where, Sullivan left Lee in a red pool here, they put the red X up so we couldn't see it. And then Sandy Scott, little old Sandy Scott, the promoter of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, broke it up. And how did he break it up, you might ask? Simple. He announced that Kevin Sullivan would be suspended indefinitely if he did not stop, which caused Sullivan to stop and leave. Now again, I love Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I would not be doing this show if I did not love Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I feel like I always have to preface that before I say something bad, because, I'm going to say something bad here. Legitimately, Sullivan was suspended, when the original angle happened. And they immediately blew it off just by doing the lazy booking. Sorry, Jim, to steal your phrase. The lazy booking, where, Kevin Sullivan had a lawyer that got him back on the TV show. That apparently is something that's, you're allowed to do. And so what the hell would be the point? Why wouldn't Sullivan then just basically laugh at Sandy Scott? Because it's been established that this man is not allowed to be suspended because apparently that's a violation of his mental health rights. All right. So now let's go to a backstage promo after the match with Primetime Brian Lee, where he's throwing shit around the locker room. And then that's going to segue into a live promo with Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Kevin Sullivan, I'm sick and tired of every time I face you, you bust my head with something. I guarantee you one thing. When I see you again, you're going to be the one to bleed. I'm tired of tasting my own blood. You drew first blood, I'll draw last.
Fans with us now, Commissioner Bob Armstrong of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Last week we had chaos again between the Master Kevin Sullivan, Primetime Brian Lee. Commissioner, what in the world are we going to do to bring this thing to a head?
Well, the more I see of the problem between Brian Lee and Kevin Sullivan, the more I'm reminded of an old Western movie that says, this town ain't big enough for both of them. Just like that, the Smoky Mountain area is not big enough for both of them. Somebody's going to get hurt bad and somebody's going to get hurt permanently. Brian Lee can attest to that already. But one thing I'm going to do is say proudly right now that I'm behind Brian Lee, and I'm going to do my dead level best to find somebody to help him get rid of Kevin Sullivan. And Kevin Sullivan, this is for you. I don't care how many letters you or your lawyers write me. We at Smoky Mountain Wrestling are not going to pay for your psychiatric evaluation or your psychiatric therapy, and that's a fact. Live with it, Jack.
Those words from Smoky Mountain Commissioner Bob Armstrong, fans. We'll be back now. Don't go away. We'll have more action right after this.
Honestly, Sullivan could have bankrupted the company just on psychiatric bills just because, motherfucker, like, you know, I know obviously prices have escalated in the past 30 years, but, you know, for fuck's sake, the cost of medical treatment, you know, especially if you're not insured, is just astronomical. And especially since Sullivan goes every day for psychiatric care, and if he's uninsured and, you know, they're trying to get Smoky Mountain to pay for this, this company will be dead next month. Spoiler alert, they're not dead next month. So anyway, Primetime Brian Lee, and sorry for the, you know, loud noise. I probably should have warned you since I could see the video that I paused to get ready to play with Brian Lee throwing a chair and the chair's in the middle of the air. And so in theory, I should have warned you and said, hey, there's going to be a crash as soon as I press play. But hey, what would be the fun in that, right? What would be the fun in telling you that, you know, hey, the first thing you're going to hear is, you know, that was more of a punch, but you know what I mean, you know? Anyway, he said Sullivan drew first blood, but Lee will draw last. Shouldn't he be drawing first blood part 2? So that segues into a live Bullet Bob promo, which basically we said, you know, he's not going to pay for Sullivan's psychiatric care, and he's behind Primetime Brian Lee, and will find someone to help him take out Kevin Sullivan. Now, as we've mentioned, Primetime Brian Lee, who up until Tracy Smothers walked in the door, was our number one babyface. He was the first Smoky Mountain champion. He was the face of the company until a few months ago. He is being taken through the woodshed here. Like literally, there are so many parts of this. Like, ever since he came back, he's been looking weaker and weaker. And Sullivan is just like kicking his ass all the fucking time. And I get, you know, we got to get heat on the guy, but Jesus Christ. You know, the motherfucker is just like, he's a foot and a half taller than Sullivan. And Sullivan does, you know, one of the best jobs you'll ever see of somebody who is smaller wrestling big. And so that helps make up for the fact that his fucking opponent is a foot taller than him. But at the end of the day, it still looks ridiculous that Primetime Brian Lee, 6'6", 200 however many pounds, big, strong, jacked, is getting his ass kicked by somebody who's 5'6", a little pudgy. You know, hey, there's nothing wrong with being pudgy. I'm more than a little pudgy. But it just looks ridiculous because even when the Night Stalker isn't involved, even when there isn't somebody involved, they're like, he's still getting his ass kicked a lot of times in, you know, ostensibly a fair fight. So, you know, hopefully they can find a way to steer this around. And the other thing, too, I get, you know, that they did a fucking hardcore angle to bring Sullivan in when he attacked Primetime Brian Lee. But the whole point of the angle was that this is somebody from Bullet Bob Armstrong's past. He's coming after Bullet Bob, and Bullet Bob can't do anything about it. So he's going after Bullet Bob's chosen one. Bullet Bob, like, he obviously cares because he's, threatening to bring people in to take Sullivan out. Bullet Bob's like, yeah, I've got other shit to deal with. You do you. All right, whatever. So after the commercial, we're back to Bob Caudle, where he's joined by the Dirty White Boy and Mr. Ron Wright.
All right, fans, and with us right now here is the Dirty White Boy and his manager, of course, the legendary Ron Wright. Dirty White Boy, last week you came up short. You didn't get the $1,000 in the TV championship match.
Tracy Smothers, let me tell you something, punk. You owe me $1,000, plain and simple. Well, no, now that I think about it, Tracy, you owe me about $10,000 because I would have went all the way to the top. There'd been nobody beat me for 10 straight weeks, so you cost me 10 grand. You want to come out here, humiliate, and try to embarrass the heavyweight champion? Well, punk, before I'm through with you, you won't be in professional wrestling long because there's only one man and one man only that rules the Smoky Mountain area, and you're looking at him.
That's right. What, have you had any word this week from Reno Riggens, Mr. Wright?
Well, let me tell you, I'm so disgusted with Riggens. A man my caliber, give him an opportunity of a lifetime, lay a gold mine out in the front of him, and he's not giving me an answer yet. He's just about to pop another artery, making me have to double up and triple up on my heart medicine to keep me under control where I can even come out here. But I'll tell you, he's up there in the ring. He better get busy and get his mind made up, Mr. Caudle, because he's needing a lot of help around here. I'll tell you that.
Well, he's going to be going for that $1,000 in our television match. What do you think about that, White? But wouldn't it be rather ironic if he were to win the $1,000 that you didn't win last week?
You think you're real cute, don't you? The $1,000 belong to me. And Tracy, I'm taking it out of your tail.
All right, fans, there it is from the Dirty White Boy and his manager, Mr. Ron Wright. And we're about ready with action. Let's go to the ring.
All right. So I think White Boy, I don't know if he really got confused, if this was just the heel thing. Could be either. Even if he was confused, they could just say, oh, yeah, he's a heel. He fucked up on purpose. But the whole thing was, Tracy Smothers cost him $10,000 because he would go and defend the title for 10 weeks. It's not quite the rules. The rule is you defend it for 5 weeks, and if you do it, you get an extra $5,000, which comes to $10,000. But, again, let him go. Let him be. He says that only one man rules the Smoky Mountain area, and that's him. And, he is the Smoky Mountain champion, so it makes sense. And, like, the $1,000, like, even though, yeah, the money is bullshit. Like, I don't know if people really believed it back then. I know that was Cornette's thing to be like, oh, we got to make it believable. We put the fines believable, because no one believes that in a show that's drawing 200 people, these people are not making $1 million. You got to make the fines believable. Well, it's not believable that on a show that draws 200 people, you're giving away $1,000 a week. And I mean, we're not supposed to know, even though Paul Orndorff kind of spoiled it a few weeks ago. We're not supposed to know that they tape 3-4 shows at a time. So, fine. You draw 200 people, which, is paying $8. When they do those commercials, they usually like $7 or $8. So you're making $1,600. And, you're losing $1,000 right off the top there. And out of that $1,600, if, the champ wins the 5th straight week, he gets $1,000 and another $5,000. You're up fucking Schitt's Creek. This company is losing money hand over fist between this and paying for Kevin Sullivan's psychiatric bills. Again, I know. Anyway, Mr. Wright is so disgusted by Reno Riggens not giving him an answer, it's making him triple up his heart medication. And that Reno needs to get his head straight because he has a lot to learn. And White Boy finishes by saying he's taking the $1,000 out of Tracy's hide. So now we get Beat the Champ TV champion Tracy Smothers in his first title defense against Reno Riggens. Tracy lets fans fly his Confederate flag. And I really wish, and I'm going to spoil it for you for the next 2.5 years, there is no trophy to represent the Beat the Champ. And, there's no belt, there's no medal, there's no nothing. It's just, this is the Beat the Champ TV champion. And I get like for something like this, especially that bounces around so much, because you're only going to be champion at most for 5 weeks, that, it may not have been worth it to make a championship belt, but there had to have been something and I guess doing a trophy, like a literal trophy, might have been a little too corny, but I felt like there's something they could have done. Like, be like, hey, that's right. I not only won $1,000, I won this whatever, this, plaque, this, fucking people. When you in Wimbledon, you get that fucking plate. I won this silver plate. That always looks corny anyway, but you know what I mean. Some sort of trophy, some sort of prize, something that symbolizes, something that stands out. It's like, you don't need championship belts to declare this guy's the world champion, this guy's the tag team champion. But you have it there because it adds to the presentation. And at this point, they're not even like, they're not even like holding up a fake check, at there before the match. They're just going to the ring for a random singles match, and they're saying the winner's getting $1,000. Like, they really should do something, anything, to add to the presentation here, but they really don't. And like, I guess it is what it is, and I am not even sure what you could do because, like I said, I don't think a title belt would really be appropriate, but it's the only thing I could really think of at this point. And like, there's something like a trophy stupid, a medal. I don't know. The medal just sounds corny and not in a good way. So we'll figure it out. I mean, we have 2.5 years of no championship belt coming up here. But let's go here. Now, Mr. Ron Wright did come to ringside to encourage Reno Riggens on. However, Reno, he does stay babyface for the most part. Him and Tracy shake hands following the code of honor. Reno did look good here, and Tracy gives him quite a bit. He does a flying crossbody and a back handspring elbow in the corner because this is before that became a, pardon me, this is what it was, before it became a woman's move to do the handspring backflip in the corner. That WWE just, China did it and then they gave it to other women, so it became the women's spot, even though, like, why? But still. Anywho, but for the most part, this was a clean grappling match. Reno got frustrated when Tracy reversed one of his holds and he shoved Tracy, but he calmed the fuck down. Mr. Wright was trying to yell encouragement from the outside, yelling at Reno to pop him, but Reno considered it, but he didn't. They had their clean wrestling match. They botched a backslide wicked bad. Tracy tried to flip him over, but Reno didn't go all the way over. And then the finish saw them reverse a few roll-ups. Tracy ended up on top for the win to retain the championship. So Tracy Smothers was his first title defense. And speaking of Tracy and the fact that we're going to make him bend over at the waist to talk to Bob Caudle, he's about to bend over at the waist to talk to Bob Caudle. Let's go to that now.
Now still our television champion, another $1,000 richer too.
Oh, man.
Tracy Smothers. What an outstanding wrestling match that was, Tracy.
Thanks a lot, Bob. I tell you what, just before our match, I heard that dirty white boy out here running his mouth, hollering and screaming about what he's going to do to me. Well, I proved to all these people right here last week and the millions of people on TV that I can get the job done. White boy, you want some of me? You ain't got to go very far, man. I'm a southern-born, southern-bred thoroughbred, so bring it on any time.
Well,
I'm $1,000 richer. I'm real happy about that. But they don't get no easier. Let me tell you something. That young man right there, Reno Riggens, is a tremendous athlete. I faced every top spot. Reno, come on over here if you will, please.
Yeah, it was
a
whale of a good wrestling match.
Darn good wrestler.
And not only that, it was an outstanding wrestling match, and I think on the part of both of you, there was a tremendous amount of sportsmanship involved in that match.
Mr. Caudle, Reno, you got a tremendous amount of talent, and you doggone sure don't need that Ron Wright out here. You don't need that at all. I've been on that side of the fence, and that's the wrong road, Reno. You got a tremendous amount of talent. And let me tell you this, that match could have gone either way. You are headed, brother, you're big star bound. I'm going to tell you that. You're one of the finest scientific wrestlers I've ever wrestled, and I've wrestled everybody.
Have you made up your mind about that, about Ron Wright, Reno? Are you still pondering that?
Well, I'd rather not touch on that right now, but I would like to thank Tracy Smothers for coming out here and saying all the nice things he has said about me. And I'd like to thank all these fans out here for backing me. And, you know, I just really wouldn't like to say anything about this situation right now, Bob.
All right, again, congratulations to you, Reno. Tremendous match and a great win for you too, Tracy. By the way, you get another shot at it, another $1,000 next week.
4 more weeks. That's another $1,000. 4 more weeks, and I can get that $5,000. I'm ready to go. Southern born, Southern bred, American by birth, and Southern by the grace of God. Thank you very much.
All right, fans, we'll be back. We'll have more right after this.
Okay, so I should point out, I think this is a really good and really creative way to get Tracy into the heavyweight title picture. It's a little different. He, you know, under the guise of winning the TV title, they had a match. Tracy beat him clean as a sheet. And, you know, so now whenever Tracy's run with the TV title comes to an end, he's a ready-made challenger. He already holds a non-title win over the champion. And and we talked about it, you know, he's the most popular wrestler in the company. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, yeah, the Rock and Roll Express got that insane reaction on week 1 when they appeared together at Fire in the Mountain. But it hasn't been insane like that ever since. Tracy Smothers basically gets this same crazy reaction every single week. And no, it's not Fire on the Mountain Rock and Roll Express reaction, but if that's a 10 and they've since gone to a 7 or an 8, Tracy's been at a 9 every week he's on the show. And you get things like this where Tracy's on the show 2-3 times during a TV taping, and they're still fucking cheering for him. They still love this guy. And, you know, he is the right person to be going next for the title. He puts over Reno. He calls him to the desk and says that Reno doesn't need Mr. Ron Wright. He says that he's star-bound if he stays on the right track. Reno said he's not ready to make a decision, but did thank Tracy and the fans for their support. And as we point out, every time Tracy Smothers does a promo, they hold the fucking mic at Tracy's waist, forcing him to bend over at an almost 90-degree angle to cut his promo. All right. It's time. So we've been doing the show for a year, and I've been talking about for a year that Tim Horner is a great wrestler. He really is. I mean, he's not Bryan Danielson, but he's not fucking Great Khali either. Although you could argue that him and Khali, you know, share promo skills. Horner, we have learned, if you keep him to a 15, maybe a 20-second soundbite, that's fine. You know, I'm not going to say good, but it's fine. And, you know, even a few months ago, they did the angle where he got dragged by his neck. And while it wasn't, you know, for anybody else a great promo, for Tim Horner, he cut a very good Tim Horner promo after that. So what I'm saying is, Tim Horner good in the ring, bad on the mic, except under certain circumstances. And unfortunately, what we're about to listen to is not a situation where Tim Horner apparently was impassioned enough. So last week, Mr. Wonderful was on Down and Dirty with Dutch, and he brought out a fan who had one of Horner's foam lightning bolts. And when they asked, the kid whose favorite wrestler was, he said, "White Lightning, White Lightning." And Orndorff was so offended by this, he took the foam lightning bolt and ripped it up, which caused Tim Horner to appear from out of nowhere and attack Orndorff and go from here. This is the follow-up promo, the follow-up babyface promo, where now Horner, he gets to vow what he's going to do to Paul Orndorff now, because this motherfucker, he's been costing him his title matches with Dirty White Boy that he's had. He's going after Horner's fans. It's personal. There hasn't been an injury angle yet, but there's always that threat of injury anytime Paul Orndorff is around, because he just flagrantly breaks the pile driver rule. And so, this guy, plus, not only, does this guy keep fucking with him, this is like the end of a bad month professionally for Tim Horner. He thought the title won. He thought he was Smoky Mountain champion, and it got taken from him. Good refereeing, bad refereeing, whatever you want to say. This was it. And now, after all that, this is his final moment, the final moment where he gets to finally sit here and sink his teeth in after a long month where he's getting, the shaft every time he turns around. Now he's mad, he's irate, and he's going to, tell us what he thinks, about Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and, go from there. So come on, Tim, let's do this shit. Let's go to Dutch now for this interview.
Okay, fans, you've seen what happened last week, and right here, standing right with me here is White Lightning Tim Horner. And Tim, I just want to say that, the way Paul Orndorff acted last week, I don't agree with it, and I think you did absolutely the right thing by coming out and doing exactly what you did.
Well, Dutch, I figured you'd see it my way. You seem to always do when we're kind of face-to-face, if you know what I mean. But let me tell you something, Mr. Paul Orndorff. You come out here and you degrade these people. You degrade everybody. You say that you're Mr. Wonderful and you've been all over the world. Well, I've been a few places myself, and most recently it was on you, if you can recall. So let me just tell you something. If you got something to say to me, Mr. Wonderful, you say it to my face. Don't say it about my family. Don't say it about my friends. And certainly don't say it about my fans. You understand what I'm saying? Now let me tell you something else, Mr. Wonderful. Thanksgiving Thunder, you interfered in my match. You cost me that title. Now we've been going around tag matches, me and Ronnie Garvin. Guts one-on-one to face me. Always got to have something to wrap around your hand or get something from Ron Ryder, the dirty white boy. If you want some of me, jump on me. I'll help you all I can. You understand where I'm coming from? I'm not a hard man to find. These people know I'll fight when I have to. And now it's come the time to fight, Mr. Wonderful, and that's exactly what it's going to be. If you want to fight, it's going to be a fight. Jump on me, get in my face, slap me, and get me in the mood, if you know what I'm talking about. So go ahead, get in my face, jump on me. If you get tired, I'll take over. But nevertheless, Mr. Wonderful, I'm going to get you wherever it's going to be. If it's here, if it's in the parking lot, who cares? It doesn't matter to me. Does it matter to you, Dutch?
No, sir. It doesn't matter to me where you get him, as long as you don't get me. That's it, folks. Right now, that's Down and Dirty with Dutch. You heard the comments from Tim Horner to Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. Fans, don't go away. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
All right.
Okay. That may legitimately be the worst promo in wrestling history. Like, there have been some bad ones, don't get me wrong. And there have been some more, globally recognized bad promos. There are a handful of reasons why this is not a bigger fucking deal than it is. Why this isn't meme worthy. Why this isn't, when Bret Hart did his El Dandy promo and Lex Luger didn't know about his t-shirt, and when people do the Jumpin' Jeff Farner, yep. Like, somehow this promo somehow fell under the radar. And I don't even know why at this point. It's this fucking shit. And there are a lot of problems with this. And we'll get to it, because, like, as bad as the Tim Horner promo is, this is, like, he doesn't edit the fucking show. Like, and let's just start at the beginning. So he tells Orndorff not to say things to his friends or family or fans, but to say it to him, and calls him Mr. Warndorff, Mr. Wonderful. Horner says that Orndorff doesn't have the guts to jump on him. You know what he's talking about. And I get he's trying to, like, get the passion going, but he sounds so fucking stupid, just raising his voice and saying weird shit, especially if you're actually listening to what he's saying. He'll fight when he has to. He says He says for Orndorff to jump on him, slap him, and get him in the mood if you know what he's talking about. Jump on me. If you get tired, I'll take over. Is he aware how this sounds? Like, even if you have the most innocent mind in the world, and you were to sit here and just listen to what Horner is saying, what the fuck do you think Horner thinks is going to happen when him and Mr. Orndorff will, get together? Because it does not sound like there's going to be wrestling going on. Jump on me. If you get tired, I'll take over. What? Like I said, the only thing that keeps this from being a legendary bad promo is that SMW has always been a niche product and it flew under the pro wrestling radar even when it was at its biggest. And even if Horner was a good promo, this was fucking atrocious. And I get that Horner can only do so much, but the last month of Horner has just been one shitty promo after another. At this point, I get there was already a ton of shit going on between Horner and Cornette. At this fucking point, this is sabotage. This is sabotage on his own show by allowing this live promo to air. And it's not like, Cornette never reshoots anything. Cornette never edits anything. We see over and over again when there are botched spots, we edit in crowd footage to get around it. We see countless backstage promos. Down and Dirty with Dutch has been taped before no audience half a dozen times. There's no rule to it that says that they had to be in front of the crowd. They could have taped this, saw how fucking shitty it was, and then later that night going, okay, Tim, that sucked. Let's do this again in the back in a controlled environment. We'll do a couple of shots. We'll take, if we need to, we'll do, I guess they don't really do 2-camera shoots with a lot of these promos, but, we'll do something here to try to cover this up here. I'll feed you some lines. I'll do something to try to really, help you out here. But no, this aired as is. And yeah, it's I get the point. He's a top babyface, and he's a top babyface that's being shoved further and further down the card here. But, and I get you're not supposed to not give your top, not give a babyface promo time because then they're unimportant because even fucking Dixie Dynamite, who's the opening match loser most weeks or on most live events, he gets promo time. Killer Kyle, they attempted to give him promo time multiple times and he doesn't say anything. So you got to give Horner, promo time to some extent. But this isn't even, they're not playing to any strengths he has. And I get at this point they're a year in, and I get, what's going on. But at the end of the day, this is self-sabotage. You put this on your show. This was not Monday Night Raw or AEW Dynamite or SmackDown or whatever else that's broadcast live to the world. And if it's fucked up, it's too late. This is pre-taped. This was taped 6 weeks earlier. They could have reshot it. Fuck, if you wanted to reshoot it in front of a live crowd, when the fuck is the next, when's the next taping tape? So the next taping was January 18th. They literally could have retaped it then, done a tight shot, having him stand in front of the crowd or stand in front of the ring or something. And it's redo it and insert it here it's it was the same show from East High School. It's no. And you could say what you want. Like I said, Horner sucked dick in this promo. And I think at the end of it, he may have wanted to do that too, if you listen to him enough here. But it could have been covered up. Like I said, there is legitimately no reason why that needed to air as is. And, it leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth about Horner, and maybe that was the fucking point. But that was just the shits. And like I said, it makes the company look bad that they let a promo that bad air on their TV show. All right. So we're 28 minutes into the show. Actually, I'm sorry, 30 minutes into the show now that White Lightning is over. And the show is going 49 minutes. And we've already had all of your advertised stuff. So you might be wondering, what else is there? Well, from here we go to a 14-minute video recap, recapping everything that's gone on since August with the Heavenly Bodies, the Stud Stable, and the Rock and Roll Express. Now, you might be thinking, oh man, 14 minutes, that's long. You know how long 14 minutes is? It's so long, they had to take a commercial break in the middle of the recap. So, with commercials, this went 17 minutes of continuous television time. All right, so now we get to the end. Now, if you recall, last week they announced that in 2 weeks, so next week, there's going to be a tag team title match where the Heavenly Bodies defend against the number one challengers. But they never told you who the number one challengers are, right? So now we're at the end of the show, and actually this is the first time the entire show this has even been brought up, which, again, there's a lot wrong with this episode. I'm telling you that. I don't know what Corny did over Christmas that year, but the last few shows have been a little questionable. But anywho, so let's go now to Bullet Bob Armstrong, who has chosen the team that will challenge the Rock and Roll Express next week for the tag team titles, and the obvious aftermath, because if you're only choosing one team, another team is going to be pretty mad.
There's with us now Smoky Mountain Commissioner Bob Armstrong. Commissioner Armstrong, we told all the fans that next week we'd have a title match right here for our Smoky Mountain Tag Team Championship. We didn't know who the competitors were going to be. Have you chosen a team yet, the number one contenders that are going to vie for that championship?
Yes, I have. I have chosen the Stud Stable will meet Rock and Roll Express here next week for the tag team titles. We've told the fans they'd have a title match right here on TV. The tag team titles will go on the line. Rock and Roll Express against the Stud Stable, and that'll happen on TV right here next week. And brother, it ought to be a good one.
So you decided against the Heavenly Bodies then and Jim Cornette.
Well, they've had their chance. I figure Stud Stables hadn't had a chance yet. Why not give them a chance to go for the tag team?
Hey, what is this? What is this? What are you talking about, Stud Stable getting a shot at the tag team title? We're the number one contenders, and we ought to have the shot at the belts. Especially on TV where all these idiots can see it.
Listen, you've had your chance. The Stud Stables they haven't had a chance yet. I'm giving them a chance right here.
They haven't had a chance to cure cancer or do heart surgery either because they ain't qualified. They're not qualified to be the tag team champions. We are. We've been that 4 times. This Stud Stable got no business. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Dutch Mantell, I have always liked you. But I tell you something, and you listen real good, because I got my boys standing here. You tell that Stud Stable they don't need to be coming around the Heavenly Bodies anymore. I'm calling my mama's attorneys. We're going to see about this tag team title situation, and you tell the Stud, yeah, there's no excuse for you.
Let me tell you something, Cornette. You want to call somebody? Here's a quarter. Call anybody you want to. Let's get me out of here.
You tell the Stud Stable they better stay out of our business from now on. You know what? I never liked that stinking Dutch Mantell. He ought to quarter. He ought to have a haircut and a shave. Let me tell you,
Oh, I knew that was going to create...
Yeah, and I saw that smile on your face too, Carl. Everybody, no. Everybody, including you, is on their side. That stupid Bob Armstrong is out here. We've been the champions. We had the belts. Those Stud Stables have never had any belts in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They don't deserve a chance.
I know what they've had. They've had about 4 or 5 quarts of liquor down their gullet. That's why.
Oh, wait a minute. Here comes Dutch. Dutch with the Stud Stable.
If you wanted me to tell them, here they are.
I think congratulations is in order. Let's have it. Hey, I took congratulate this. You guys don't deserve a shot. We do.
Oh, and wait a minute, fans. We got something going on.
There's nothing about number one contender. You want a ring? There's no ring on this.
Oh, and they're going to go to the ring right now.
Let's see who the better team is.
Well, there they go.
All right, we'll see right now.
And Dutch is going to go. We got Dutch.
Okay. So Bullet Bob makes the announcement the Stud Stable's getting the title match next week on TV. I can't say I'm a fan of the reason. The only reason why they chose the Stud Stable instead of Heavenly Bodies was because the Stud Stable's never gotten a title shot. Okay. Well, guess if they weren't going to have an actual match, which we'll get to, that's as good a reason as any. Corny comes out and he popped me. Like, I'll be honest, I yelped in my house while watching this when he yells that the stud stable haven't had a chance to cure cancer or do heart surgery yet either. That was a great fucking line. He yells about them being 4-time champions. He turns his attention to Dutch. He told Dutch to tell the stud stable that they don't need to come around anymore and that he's going to call his mama's lawyers. Bullet Bob decides now's the best time to leave. He gives Corny a quarter to go call whoever the hell he wants. And, in come the stud stable, who are like, yeah, I think congratulations are in order here. And that leads to a bunch of pushing and shoving, and they go to the ring. Now, at this point, again, this is a 49-minute show. We're 47 minutes into it. I think there's not going to be a finish here. But sure enough, Mark Curtis runs in, the bell rings, and we have the stud stable with Dr. Dutch Mantell versus the Heavenly Bodies with Jim Cornette. And honestly, they didn't even pretend to have a match. It was a 4-way brawl in and out of the ring. And the show went off the air with everyone fighting and no semblance of a match. So, again, I'm going to be griping a little bit because back on December 5th, when we did the show, the December 5th, 1992 show, they did the Down and Dirty with Dutch where, I forget Bullet Bob, whoever came out and said that the match would be on December 12th. And then I discovered that December 12th was the TV taping. And then that part just got ignored. But still, it aired on the fucking TV show. So they semi-promote a match, for December 12th. And, they never flat out said they were going to have a match on TV, but that certainly made the most sense considering everything we've seen since Thanksgiving Thunder. And I looked up the results. By the way, I turned on next week's show and skipped through it a little bit to see if they, show the end of the match. Because, they did that. They did that before with the Heavenly Bodies and Rock and Roll Express like 2 months ago. That's not what happens here. Basically, this is like, that match at the end of Mid-South Wrestling on something else this week. It never gets brought up again. This doesn't get brought up again. And when I looked up the results, it lists the Heavenly Bodies as winning by disqualification. So I give it a begrudging pass because they at least gave the live crowd the whole match. It doesn't say how long the match goes, but they gave them a match and some sort of a finish. And honestly, I'm a little bugged because I was looking forward to this match. But with that said, next week it is scheduled as the Rock and Roll Express versus the Stud Stable for the tag team titles. And we'll see what unfolds then on our 1-year anniversary show. So 52 down, 148 to go. And before we finish things up, let's tell you what else is happening this week in wrestling. And the big news is now that Ric Flair has officially lost his Loser Leaves WWF match to Mr. Perfect, and that's officially aired on TV. He is officially on his way out of the WWF, but he is not yet officially signed with WCW. And actually, one of those things that most people don't know, they did a European tour that weekend that Flair was on. So that really wasn't the end of Flair. That was just the last televised match for Flair for like a decade. While he has not officially signed with WCW yet, WCW has officially signed the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, which, shock of shocks, got a lot of mainstream attention in the UK. Speaking of shock of shocks, the Royal Rumble, which just happened, was the lowest buy rate in WWF history at this point. Yokozuna was the winner of an underwhelming Royal Rumble. And to be honest, nobody was terribly surprised as the WWF is in rebuilding mode. And, well, we'll see how that turns out over the course of the next 10 weeks leading to WrestleMania. But they're looking to the future at this point and are taking a few on the chin to get there. And by the way, and I think everyone kind of knows this, but in case you don't, by winning, Yokozuna is the first person to officially be awarded the main event of WrestleMania as the prize for winning. Obviously, Hogan won in 91 and then got the title shot at WrestleMania. That was not part of the, winnings. You just won a Royal Rumble at that point. And then the final bit of news, Terry Von Erich, here in January of 1993, was arrested on what was termed a health and safety code violation. It is strongly implied to be a drug charge, and his blood is currently being tested. And if it's determined that he's ingested illegal substances, that will be considered a violation of his probation, and his judge is considered to be one of the strictest judges in Texas. And so this may be his third and final strike. Again, this is January of 1993. All right. So that's going to do it for this week's episode. We've made it a year. We've seen a lot of really good shit, and some more really good shit is still to come. So next week, Rock and Roll Express versus the Stud Stable for the titles. Please, again, subscribe to the Something Else Podcasting Network across all your favorite streaming platforms. Because, again, if I randomly drop a bonus show, that's the best way to find out about it. So check it out. But I want to thank everybody for listening. I'm taking a podcast break for several fucking days because, again, I've done a lot of these fucking things recently. But thank you all for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.